Let's bring in former RNC spokeswoman and the woman currently on the cover of Krunika magazine in Estonia, Elizabeth Pipko. Such a star, Elizabeth, along with conservative actor and former LA GOP vice chair, Siaka Massaquoi. Welcome to both of you. Siaka, you first. Alyssa Slotkin talking about the president, quoting here, threatening lives. Watch.
I would hope that people of all backgrounds, Democrat, Republican, Independent, would agree that threatening death for people you disagree with is beyond the pale of who we are as Americans. I love this country. It has given me everything, everything. And I refuse to believe that this is the new normal.
Making too much of it, Siaka? What do you think?
You got to love these people. Since the Epstein files thing has fallen flat on its face, they got to gin up another kind of emotional attack for them to go for. And right now, they know what they were doing when they're calling for a very vague, illegal order type situation they had set up. We know what they were saying. So, you know, Trump, what he was talking about, he talked about sedition, which it kind of clearly goes for what they're trying to tell people to do. So what is the punishment for sedition? I didn't make it up. Trump didn't make it up. Don't get mad at MAGA for following the law.
Yeah, meantime, you have Zoran Mamdani. He was asked about the big Oval Office meeting, Elizabeth Pipko, tomorrow, and he said the following here. Watch.
I'm not concerned about this meeting. I view this meeting as an opportunity for me to make my case, and I'll make that case to anyone, frankly. This is a meeting where I look forward to speaking about the affordability agenda, public safety, and economic security for each and every person that calls the city home.
Elizabeth, you know this White House. How do you think this meeting plays out?
Well, look, I think it depends what Zoran Mamdani is trying to pull off, right? I mean, if he's meeting with President Trump genuinely out of respect and wanting to, you know, bring the best possible opportunities to the people of New York, it'll go down pretty well. If he's going to try and sit in that Oval Office with President Trump, one of the strongest leaders we've ever had, a proud capitalist, by the way, extremely proud American, to push his own agenda, it probably won't go down as well. And the reality is when you're going in there to try to push communism, as Caroline Leavitt said, this is a proud communist. I don't think the American people are going to stand for it. I don't even think that language belongs in the Oval Office. And I hope if he tries to pull any of it, President Trump puts him directly in his place.
Yeah, it's amazing. We're going to go to Chicago now, talking about Chicago crime here, Siaka. You had the Chicago mayor, Brandon Johnson, a woman who was literally poured gasoline all over her. Someone lit her on fire, and Brandon Johnson is saying this is an isolated incident in Chicago. Watch.
What I can say is that as awful and as horrific as this tragedy is, this is as an isolated incident. As we continue to invest more in our public transportation system, we want people to feel safe as they ride.
I mean, when you talk about a city that gets this much crime, Siaka, saying the word isolated seems to be a bit of a misnomer. What do you think?
Well, I think either he's dumb or he's just a liar, because we have this mayor who's in a single-digit approval rating, raising taxes for illegals and turning a blind eye to the lawlessness that's going on in Chicago. I have friends that work on the force, and they've been told to stand down during riots. These people are doing this stuff on purpose. And, you know, if people aren't shocked at the election in New York and just look back at the election of the past mayors in Chicago, I don't know what else will get them shocked at this point, because these people are trying to destroy these beautiful cities. I grew up in Chicago. I lived there in the 90s. I used to go to Bulls games. And now I'm just, you know, worried I can't go back there with my family to visit my family. This is the kind of city that these leftist policies have now created with this cashless bail system and soft on criminal system. It's just sad to watch.
Yeah, it is. Meantime, the jobs report, Elizabeth Pipko, was out today, and, you know, it was a little late, and they were talking about it. Didn't quite get the attention I was thinking it would in the New York Times and the Washington Post. No surprise. J.D. Vance, he played it up, though. Watch this.
A huge jobs report, and I assume the market is going crazy right now, probably just opened, because what this shows is that the Trump economic policies are actually working. And you've got 119,000 new jobs. Economists thought that we would have about 50,000 new jobs, but that's actually just the headline number. If you look below the surface, I think the numbers are actually better.
Something tells me if the numbers were not better, if the numbers were down, we would have heard a lot more about the jobs numbers today, Elizabeth.
We sure would, and that's why economists were predicting so boldly that these numbers would be closer to 50,000. Instead, they were more than double that, and I don't see anyone celebrating, right? Because when the country does well, we can't celebrate because that means President Trump is doing well, and we can't have that. To quote the president, where are all the panicans who warned us about the tariffs, who warned us about our country going down the tubes because President Trump doesn't know what he's doing? The reality is the country's on the right track. Once again, finally, the American people see it, and this narrative meant to destroy President Trump and his agenda is not going to work when the people of our country are finally feeling good again.
Yeah, it really is kind of an amazing thing. Elizabeth, Siaka, thank you both.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.